A man bought a corpse at an outrageous price from a funeral home, pretending it was his father, and rushed it to a private hospital for emergency treatment. He begged the doctors desperately to save his father, saying he'd pay any amount. The doctors didn't even bother asking about the patient's condition or taking a single look before wheeling the body straight into the operating room. Once inside, they immediately realized the patient was already dead, but the doctors still insisted on proceeding with surgery because they had already figured out the family member's psychology. This young man was clearly a devoted son, and in a life-or-death situation, he would spare no expense to save his father's life. This was the perfect opportunity for them to drain the family's finances dry. So a group of doctors began putting on an elaborate show, bustling around and acting as if they were desperately trying to save a life, constantly going in and out of the operating room. The attending physician approached the man and handed him a prescription, telling him his father's life was hanging by a thread and he needed to hurry and buy medication from the pharmacy right next to the hospital because they were the only ones who carried many of these specialized drugs. Looking at the prescription, the man saw dozens of different medications listed, but had no idea what each one was for. Following the list, he filled bags full of medicine at the pharmacy, spending half a year's salary. He handed the 2 bags to the nurse and kept asking what these medications were for, but the nurse gave him the cold shoulder, telling him his father's condition was complicated and he wouldn't understand even if she explained it. Meanwhile, the nurse took the medications right back to the pharmacy and scolded the pharmacist, saying the man was easy to fool and they should have given him more expensive drugs with higher profit margins. The man had just spent a fortune on medication when the doctor came out again, telling him he needed to pay an additional $200,000 for surgery. The man protested that he had already paid the surgical fee when he first arrived. The doctor explained that due to his father's critical condition, they needed to bring in a renowned medical expert to perform the surgery, and specialists required separate payment. After the man paid again, a solemn-looking expert in formal attire entered the operating room. The family waited anxiously outside the operating room, but inside it was completely quiet. The doctors and nurses were just chatting among themselves. Every half hour or so, they'd send someone out who would instantly switch from cheerful to serious, like seasoned actors. One by one, they continued to con the man into paying additional fees. When the man had finally exhausted all his savings, a doctor emerged with a heavy expression and told him, "I'm very sorry, we did everything we could, but your father couldn't be saved. He's passed away." The man kept pleading with the doctor to try again, but the doctor said, "No matter how hard we try, we can't bring a dead person back to life." Suddenly, the man became calm. He pulled out the corpse's death certificate and told the doctor that the body wasn't his father at all. It was just a corpse he had bought from the funeral home that had died several days ago. "So what exactly were you doing in there for over 8 hours? As long as there was money in my account, would there always have been hope for saving him?"